you guys, it's Rachel here with Senza Tempo Cane Corso. Wanting to talk to you guys today about something that happened over the weekend. I know that you guys know, or a lot of you know about an old dog that I had named Eclipse. She was a dog that I got from the same breeder that I got Preacher from, and she had a genetic temperament issue that we call a weak temperament. And what it means is that she kind of had almost like a version of like a paranoia, where she would overanalyze everything, very shy, very skittish dog. And when you pressure them, they're prone to biting. And you'll often hear about dogs that are called fear biters. And that's where that comes from. And I have a whole video on a weak temperament, and I even go into talking about Eclipse. So if you want to know about that, then I'd highly suggest that you watch that video. So I rehomed the dog to a woman in San Antonio. It's about an hour and a half from me. She already had a dog with the same temperament. It was a Great Dane, and she worked at a vet office, and I thought that she would be a great match. She ended up deciding she didn't want the dog. She didn't let me know. She placed the dog on a group for sale or for adoption. And the breeder saw it and contacted me and asked me to try to reach out and see if there was something that I could do to try to help out. So I did. I contacted her. She told me what was going on. She said the dog was becoming very aggressive, was attacking the kennel at her job where she had the dog and the vet office, and was trying to go after people that the dog knew very well at that office. And so anyway, so I offered training. I was headed to Maryland to go pick up Preacher that week, but I told her that when I got back, I would help her out with the dog, and she was fine with it. But unfortunately, while I was out taking care of things in Maryland, she messaged me to basically say that she had changed her mind. She didn't want the dog anymore. So I said, okay, that's fine. Offered to take the dog. So she wanted me to take the dog, and we had decided on yesterday, which was Sunday. Contacted her the night before to confirm. She said yes. I contacted her the day of, and she said she was having second thoughts. And I forgot to add that one of the things that she had admitted to me previously, which I think is why she wanted to get rid of the dog, is because she had admitted that she would get frustrated and hit the dog. And so I think that she understood at that time that the relationship between them, human and dog, had become toxic. It had become unhealthy for both of them. There was no progress being made. Eclipse was not acting that way when I had her. So she's clearly gotten worse in this woman's care. So I tried to talk her into just releasing the dog, into getting her to realize that the dog needed to be somewhere else. That at this point she had become somewhat of a liability. If she's acting that way, in my opinion, that is a liability. And that the best thing for her would be to come with me so that I could try to reset her, to try to basically bring her back to a point that I could actually find her an appropriate home. Yeah, there's Sugar. But she didn't want to hear it. She kept trying to blame herself, which is really normal. I've talked about that in my video about dogs with a weak temperament. It's very normal to blame yourself, and I tried to make sure she understood that it had nothing to do with her, that the dog had a genetic issue, and that no amount of training was going to fix it. She could either tolerate her the way she was and try to live around that, or she could give her back and I could find her a home. But she couldn't do it. She couldn't do what needed to be done, and was very emotional about it, all up in her feelings. And unfortunately, emotions are great. They're very important. However, the one thing that I think one of the biggest problems that we humans have is that we overvalue our emotions. We let emotion be a deciding factor for us instead of sticking with logic and what is the right thing to do. Okay. The right thing for her to do is to rehome that dog because she's not the best person for that dog. But emotionally, she can't handle it because she feels like she's abandoning the dog. And that's preventing her from doing what the dog needs. And I told her that. I said it nicely, and then I said it not so nice. And I'll admit that. I was trying to pressure her to let go of the dog because she needs to. If she can't handle the dog without physically hitting the dog because the dog is just being who she is, then that's a problem, and she needs to let go of the dog. And the way I see it is when a person refuses to do what's in the dog's best interest because they don't want to handle the emotional weight of rehoming a dog because they couldn't do it or it just wasn't a good match, that to me is selfish. And it's wrong because the dog is clearly not happy, right? She's attacking cages. She said that when she opens up the cage, she cowers, which is most likely from the fact that whenever the dog attacks the kennel, then the owner is hitting the dog. So, of course, she's going to cower. She won't stop attacking the kennel because there's clearly something triggering her in that regard, and what she's doing isn't working. But beating the dog after the fact does nothing. If you're not preventing a behavior from happening, you're not making a change, all right? Disciplining afterwards for something like that really isn't going to do anything. It's the same thing when they say if you don't see the dog go to the bathroom, if you don't catch them in the act, there's no point in bringing the dog over to the mess they made because they can't put that together. And that is the truth. You have to correct a behavior as it's happening or right before it's happening to have an effect. And so, like I said, beating the dog for attacking the kennel does nothing after the fact. But nothing that I could say had an effect, and she ended up keeping the dog. So I feel that it needs to be said that just because you hold on to a dog and don't give it up does not make you a good dog owner, right? It doesn't. It makes you selfish is what it does. Because if you're not the best person for that dog, and you're holding on to them because you have your own feelings and your own emotions on the matter, then it's about you. It isn't about the dog. And that's the definition of being selfish. Okay? If you genuinely love that dog, then you'll do what's in that dog's best interest. Okay? And for example, people always talk about velocity. I've had some people say to me, well, why do you have Velocity in a pack environment if you know she doesn't do well in a pack? Well, that's because she's a dog that is for breeding purposes and will be bred. However, once she produces a female puppy that is better suited, I've said it time and time again, she will be spayed and I will find her a home because this isn't the best environment for her. Now, is she breaking apart? Is she, having bad behaviors start up? No, she's not. But is she reaching her fullest potential in this environment? No, she's not. And therefore, instead of like a dog like Midnight, where once she's done breeding, I'll still hold on to her because I love her and she loves me and we're very close like that, right? So dogs that I have a bond with will stay here, but dogs that would do better somewhere else will go somewhere else. It isn't about me. It's about them and what's in their best interest. And a lot of people would say to me, that whole thing of, I can't believe that you guys just rehome your dogs after you're done breeding them and you don't keep them and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, why would we? Do you have any idea how many dogs we have? It would be selfish to hold on to every dog that I breed because they're not getting the same amount of attention and love that a dog in a pet home would. Okay? So I'm always going to think of what's in their best interest, and you should too. And that means that if you have a dog and you guys aren't doing well together and the dog isn't blossoming in your care, then maybe you need to think about what's in the best interest of the dog. Because ultimately that's what being a good um, a good dog owner is about. It's about making the best decision for that animal and doing what is in their best interest. That goes for training and discipline because that is what's in the animal's best interest. And it also goes for making sure that your home and your personality is the best fit for that individual animal. I have been a dog trainer for many years, and there have been times where I've had to tell people that they needed to rehome their animal. And it was very, very hard for them because they felt like they were abandoning them. But the truth is, they weren't suited for each other. And whenever they did rehome the animal, in fact, this one couple, they were having just the hardest time. They did that thing where a lot of people do. They make the mistake of thinking that their dog needs a friend. And so they had a dog that was an older, small dog, and they thought he was lonely. And so they got another dog. And that was another little dog. And it was very, very rambunctious, very, very energetic. And it ended up just absolutely causing chaos in their home. And it even started to make the older dog act out in ways that he had never done previously. And I basically let them know that they didn't have a lifestyle for that dog, that that particular dog needed a lot more attention and a lot more exercise than what their home permitted. So they rehomed that little dog to a friend that ran and was very active and all that kind of stuff. And they ended up having a puppy play date later. And the little dog that used to be theirs wanted no part of them. It hardly even acknowledged them when they were there. And when it came time to leave, the little dog didn't even try to come with them. And they were shocked. They couldn't believe that the little dog didn't care about them anymore, that they had lived with them for so long, and she basically acted like they weren't even there. And that's the power of a positive relationship, okay? When you give the dog what it needs, then it will seek that out. And the dog knew it was happier with the new owners. And so it wasn't sad because it had grown up with those other people. It wasn't about that. The dog was happy because it was fulfilled with its new owners and wanted to be with its new owners. So ultimately, it's really no different than anything in life. If you have a boyfriend and you guys aren't getting along and you're fighting all the time and your life is going to suck and you're going to be stressed out and everything's going to be crappy. And, there are plenty of people who stay in bad relationships. I guarantee you there are a lot of the same people who hold on to dogs that they shouldn't. And if you hold on to a toxic relationship long enough, it'll eat away at both of you. The best thing to do is to part ways. And find someone, both people, both parties, find someone that you are suited for, that you can have a good relationship with and a good bond with. And the same goes for the dog. If you get the wrong breed because you thought you could handle a breed and maybe you couldn't, the best thing to do is find that animal a new home with somebody that can give it what it needs and not just to hold on to it and make it work, because you're both going to be miserable and you're both living half the life that you could have, right? That dog is going to be much happier in a home that suits it, the same way that you would be much happier in a relationship that suits you. So please don't hold the dog hostage, right? Because you don't want to handle or you don't want to have to, feel like you did something wrong. If you want to be the best dog owner you can be, you give them what they need, right? What they need. Not what you think they need, what they need. And you find a dog that is better suited for you. And this time do your research. This time make sure that you are right. And then you won't have to do it again. But ultimately you have to do what's in their best interest. And that isn't holding on to a dog just because you own it, or just because you bought it, or just because you raised it. You've got to do what's in the best interest of the animal. And otherwise, it's just wrong, man. It's just you're just holding it captive because you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to have the emotional weight of having to, wake up and not have that dog with you in the morning, even though that dog is probably a lot happier without you, or would be a lot happier without you. So for that girl, if you're watching this, you need to give that dog up. You know, you need to give her up, and you need to find her a home where she can be her crazy self, because you're not fixing that, right? Nobody's fixing that. So that's just how I feel. That's where we're at on this. There's really nothing else I can do about it at this point. Yes, I could technically take her messages to the cops and say, "Hey, look here, I have proof right here that she admitted to hitting the dog." But ultimately, I don't think that she is this abusive. I mean, it is abusive to hit a dog for something that they can't change, and ultimately, really for no reason. But I don't think she's going to kill the dog. I don't think she's going to seriously hurt the dog. I think that she gets frustrated because the dog has behavioral issues and temperament issues. And she gets frustrated and takes her frustration out on the dog, which is unhealthy because the dog can't help herself. She has an issue. So it's just not right, and it is what it is, but please don't hold dogs captive. All right. Let them go. If you're not the best person for the dog, find him a good home. Be honest with people about what's going on and find the dog a good home. Do not just hold on to them because some, person who works at a shelter who's got more emotions and common sense told you that no matter what, you should never give a dog up. Because they are living in a different reality, all right? Their whole thing is don't let it go because for God's sake, somebody could kill it. Well, guess what? There's lots of ways to rehome a dog. You don't have to take it to the shelter, okay? You can find someone that's willing to take the dog. Don't wait till the last minute where you're sick and tired of the dog and you just want him out. Make a rational decision, recognize what you're going to do, and then go on to breed groups and forums and try to find a good home for the dog. Okay? That's what you do. You don't get upset, emotional, get to your wit's end, and then say, "Oh, I can't do it anymore." Throw your hands up and either take it to the shelter or pass it off to the first person who's willing to take the dog, which I guarantee you is what that other woman's going to do. She's going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, and eventually she's going to realize it ain't going to work, and she's going to get mad and just boot the dog out. And that's just wrong. And I've seen it happen, and unfortunately, I couldn't do anything about it this time, but at least I can make a video about it. Don't let anyone tell you that the worst thing you can do is rehoming a dog. That's not true. The worst thing you can do is hold on to a dog that isn't doing well in your home. That's the worst thing you can do to a dog. So, sorry for it to be such a tough video for a Monday, but it needs to be said. I'm so sick and tired of people saying you should never rehome your dog. That is just ridiculous. Don't listen to those people. Don't let them tell you how to live your life. They have emotional problems. People who say that have emotional problems. They have abandonment issues. That's why they say that, okay? That's why they say that. Because they themselves were abandoned at one point and they don't want to have to deal with, or they've seen it, they've worked in shelters. They have this big emotional hang up over it. And I'm telling you, ignore that. And do what's in the best interest of the dog in a professional and safe way, right? You find a good home for the dog with the new owners knowing good and well what's up with the dog. That's what you do. And then you find a better mate for you, a better, not mate, but a better a dog to have in your home. That's what you do. So anyway, I hope that this video, is heard by the people who need to hear it. I hope to God that woman that has Eclipse listens to this and does the right thing and finds her a better home where she isn't being hit just for being her crazy self. So, have a good day, you guys. Happy Monday. And I'll talk at you later. Bye.